Tonight we're here to present several different concepts to the public, try to gain some input from everybody on those concepts, get a feel for what people are thinking about the project, and just to present a lot of information for people on the I-10 corridor.
So there's an additional lane concept that we're looking at, which would add a lane to the corridor. There's also interchange improvements, and various concepts that go together to try to relieve the traffic congestion.
At the first round of public meetings, we showed the mainline concept of adding one additional lane in each direction. We have that display tonight. But what we did not have at the first series of meetings was what we proposed to do at the interchanges at the Washington Street, Dalrymple area, College Drive, Acadian area, out at the 1012 split, and on the west side of the river at LA 415 to LA 1 area. We have some concepts that we wanted to get input from the public on, see what they think about those. We don't have to do any of those, but we think it can help resolve some traffic flow and safety problems, and we think they're actually pretty good concepts, so we'd like to get public input on that. We need that in order to complete our initial study of this corridor. And from what we gather tonight, we're going to take the comments we have, the public comments we have, put those into our overall record, and determine what we're going to proceed with through the environmental process, where we're going to do a much more detailed evaluation of environmental impacts, and then we're going to proceed on with design and construction following that.
We're supposed to wrap this Stage 0 study up in the summer, and the next process will be Stage 1, which is environmental, which has an estimated completion time of about 18 to 36 months. Then you get into funding and design and construction, and so all of that is really going to depend on what alternatives are selected and where the money's going to come from.
So the purpose of the public meeting is to give a summary of the first round of meetings which took place in September, review DOTD's regional approach and understand how this project fits with that approach, update you on what we've been doing since the first round of public meetings, gather additional input from you, and to assess the needs for this I-10 corridor here in Baton Rouge. And also to discuss why this corridor is so important not only to this city, state, region, but to the entire U.S. Tonight's agenda. We will begin by giving you that summary. This data will be followed by a presentation from DOTD, the engineering, the traffic analysis team from Providence Engineering, Sigma Consulting, and Urban Systems discussing these related items. After these presentations, we'll then invite you to go next door where you can ask the project team and get one-on-one feedback about all of the information that we're going to present. And we'll get a lot deeper in detail in the second portion of tonight's meeting. Your suggestions are important. And we also have comment forms. Everyone should have been given a comment form when they signed in. You can either deposit that completed comment form tonight in one of the boxes in the next room, or you can mail that in, and there's an address on that form that you can mail those in. So this is a DOTD project, and I-10 is a federal highway. So the Federal Highway Administration is also providing oversight to this project. The Capital Region Planning Commission, or CRPC, our regional metropolitan planning organization, they are also providing technical assistance. Providence is the prime contractor for this project, and there are 5 other firms that are subcontracting with Providence. Those firms include, again, Urban Systems. They're handling the traffic analysis, T.Y. Lin International, handling bridge design, Sigma Consulting Group, handling engineering, Franklin Associates, handling public outreach, and Bowlby and Associates, handling noise analysis. We are currently at Stage 0 of this study. At this stage, the project team is tasked with determining whether potential improvements are feasible and should move forward into subsequent stages. Once we finish Stage 0, which has an anticipated end date of early summer, if the project and potential improvements that are created from this process are deemed feasible in terms of overall human and environmental impacts, we then move to Stage 1. It is at Stage 1 that the engineers and environmental specialists really refine the alternatives, keeping in mind the impact on the environment around the project, which includes the neighborhoods, businesses, and people that would be affected. This stage typically takes 18 to 36 months. However, some portions of the project may be able to move on quicker. Once an alternative is selected, the project can then move to Stage 2. The department could decide to move to Stage 3 even though construction funding has not been fully identified. Stages 3 and 4 take around 36 months to complete. If money is identified for Stage 5, then construction can proceed. In accordance with the Federal Highway Administration and DOTD's processes, a study of improvements must have a defined purpose and need. The current draft preliminary purpose and need reads as follows. First, to improve safety throughout the corridor. Secondly, to reduce congestion and improve traffic flow in the I-10 corridor. Congestion will not be completely eliminated, but there are things we can do to reduce it. And finally, to provide for the continuing growth of the economy and population of metropolitan Baton Rouge. Here's the project study area. The area of I-10 that we are focusing on for the purposes of this project extend from LA 415 and the Lobdell exit in West Baton Rouge Parish, crossing the New Mississippi River Bridge into Baton Rouge, and extending to the I-10, I-12 split at Essen Lane, incorporating just a small portion of I-12 at Essen Lane into the project. Beginning August 31st through September 3rd, 2015, the project team conducted public meetings in 3 locations in East Baton Rouge and West Baton Rouge parishes to solicit public input during the Stage 0 portion of the I-10 Corridor Improvement Study. The following slides provides a brief recap of those meetings. Prior to the first meeting of Stage 0 public meetings, the project team and the LSU Public Policy Research Laboratory conducted a total of 3 surveys to get input from residents, businesses, and travelers along the I-10 corridor. The first 2 surveys conducted were scientific. One was the survey of residents from East and West Baton Rouge, Ascension, Iberville, and Livingston parishes. The second LSU survey was a scientific survey of businesses within 5 miles of I-10 between Lake Charles and Slidell. These 2 were designed to match geographic and demographic representation of these areas. The third survey was a non-scientific public input survey, and this survey produced over 13,800 responses. A concept that came from these surveys was to add an additional lane in each direction from LA 415 to Essen Lane with the exception of the Mississippi River Bridge. This concept, as presented at the first round of public meetings, will have the least impact to adjacent properties. In areas where it is possible, we will look to widen to the inside as well as the outside in order to provide wider shoulders. Sound walls will be placed in various locations that qualify along the corridor. And we will also look for areas in and around the interstate corridor that can be improved aesthetically. This is known as context-sensitive solutions, or CSS. Every project has a unique context comprised of cultural, environmental, socioeconomic, and physical features of the corridor and surrounding area. It is important to mitigate impacts to preserve and enhance the communities adjacent to the project. One place we feel could be a great location for CSS that was presented previously is in the City Park Lake Bridge area. This location is currently a centerpiece of Baton Rouge in the I-10 corridor, and efforts are already underway to beautify the entire lakes area. The picture you are seeing now is a representation of one that could be implemented in this area. Additional effort will continue to be undertaken to determine what would best fit everyone's desires for this area. At the first meeting and again tonight, we have a scrolling set of pictures referred to as architectural inspirations to spark ideas and possibilities. These images are located on a monitor in the next adjacent room. So at the first round of public meetings, we asked those who were interested to sit at tables and offer their solutions to the traffic problem and some of their ideas and opinions on potential improvements. We received a total of 205 various and unique responses, including adding 1 additional lane in each direction, adding 1 or more, multiple lanes in each direction, improve surface streets, construct a bypass, double-deck the interstate, also referred as a high pass, construct a new bridge, either adjacent to the existing I-10 bridge or in another southern location, and move or remove the Washington Street exit. All of this information regarding the first round of public meetings can be found on the project website, which is www.i10br.com. Now let's move into the regional approach. And Dr. Eric Calavoda with DOTD will now give a brief overview of how this project is being looked at as part of a more expansive regional traffic improvement approach. Dr. Calavoda currently serves as a Deputy Secretary for DOTD. He's a native of Baton Rouge. He has a Bachelor of Science in Civil Engineering from LSU, a Master of Science in Civil Engineering from the University of Arizona, and a Doctor of Philosophy from North Carolina State. Licensed professional engineer in Louisiana, Arizona, and North Carolina, and his experience includes fields of highway geometric design, traffic engineering, highway safety, urban and statewide transportation planning, and public administration. Dr. Calavoda.
Thank you, Perry, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for coming out tonight. Secretary Wilson sends his regrets. He's in Washington, D.C., but he views this project as being of critical importance and would like to be here himself tonight. So how does this project fit in with DOTD's regional approach for the Baton Rouge area? Other projects cannot reduce demand on I-10 to less than today's volumes. That's what we covered in the first meeting. We showed the combination of different things that we could do, other projects that we could do, and would that take enough traffic off I-10 to not, make this project not necessary? And the answer to that was no, it could not, would not work. So increasing the capacity of I-10 must be part of an overall solution, but it's only one component of a multifaceted solution. So what we need is an acceptable I-10 improvement, but that alone cannot solve our problem. The complete solution to the Baton Rouge traffic solution or traffic problems will require additional projects other than the I-10 project. And so I-10 has to be in a suite of projects, and our transportation plan outlines the projects that are necessary to improve overall traffic conditions in the Baton Rouge area. Let me just show you what some of those are. These are the projects that we are sponsoring in our top 2 priorities of our statewide transportation plan, and that includes the project we're here tonight to talk about, improving I-10, but also a new southern bridge somewhere between the Sunshine Bridge and the existing I-10 bridge, a north bypass, the LA1 to LA415 connector on the west side of the river, and then 2 projects which are a little further away but still in the metro area, and that's continuing the widening on I-10 from Highland Road down to LA22, which is the Sunshine Bridge exit, and widening I-12 from Satsuma to all the way to Hammond. We've already got that widened out nearly to Satsuma, and we would complete that and then go on and extend that all the way to Hammond. We'll now discuss what has transpired since the last round of public meetings, and Adam Davis with Providence is going to cover that with you. So, Adam.
Thank you, Eric. Good evening. Again, my name is Adam Davis, and I'm with Providence Engineering. We're the prime consultant on the project. So from all the responses we received through all various means of public input, a list of alternatives were developed so that they could be screened against a certain set of criteria in order to determine what should move forward for further study. Improvements to I-10 mainline were analyzed, including 1 additional lane, a multi-lane addition, a high pass, new adjacent bridge crossing, lanes on the outside of an existing bridge, providing a direct connection from LA1 to Nicholson, I-110 West Bank connection, a movable barrier on the bridge, and frontage roads at various locations. In addition to the main line, a multitude of interchange improvements were considered. If you'd like to take a look at everything that was considered, we have an exhibit in the open house that outlines each of those. Once all the various alternatives were defined, a set of screening criteria was developed in order to determine what projects were viable to move to the next round of study. Each alternative was screened according to the portion of I-10 that it improved. So mainline concepts were compared with a certain set of criteria. Interchange concepts were screened against a different set of criteria. Both of those sets of criteria contain the following categories of screening. Traffic operations. We looked at, does the concept improve operations at major bottleneck points and throughout the entire project area, only portions of the project area, or at spot locations? Safety improvements. Will the concept be expected to result in a significant improvement in safety, or provide moderate improvement, or provide no improvement at all? impacts to acreage and structures, or as we term it, right-of-way impacts, how many impacts to residential, commercial, and public facilities are expected for each concept, what kind of impact to the environment will it have, will it impact wetlands, parks, historic structures, etc. What's the anticipated cost of the concept? And finally, can the concept be constructed in different phases or parts as money becomes available? And so what we have up here is a sample of how the screening criteria was applied to one of the mainline concepts, the multi-lane addition. This concept would add up to 2 additional lanes in each direction and add an adjacent Mississippi River bridge crossing in order to accommodate those additional lanes. And this concept was expected to handle the future traffic demand. So applying the criteria, you'd see that the acreage required, the impacts to residential structures, and the impacts to businesses causes this impact to right-of-way to be high. We also see a high impact to the environment. Along with other issues, this would have a major visual impact throughout the community. The safety benefit of this improvement would be major, but so would the cost, with an estimated price tag of over $1 billion. It's able to be phased, but portions of this project, like the construction of a new bridge, would carry substantial cost. Finally, the traffic operations for this concept would provide high capacity. But in the end, once all the criteria are used to compare this concept, it was recommended that this concept not move forward for additional study. So this is an interchange alternative that was used against the screening criteria. This is one of several of the Washington Street area interchange concepts that you'll see tonight. This concept would combine Washington Street and Dalrymple Drive with a frontage road and provide an eastbound on-ramp to serve Washington and Dalrymple traffic, as well as add an additional left exit to the Washington Street area serving I-10 southbound traffic. So right now, traffic coming from I-10 crosses 2 lanes of I-10 traffic, causing congestion at the 10-110 merge. And also, there's no eastbound on-ramp for traffic exiting at Dalrymple. Anyone who isn't familiar with the area has a hard time getting back to I-10 eastbound. Regular users just cut through the neighborhoods to get there. This concept would help alleviate those problems. You can see this concept on paper at one of the stations in the open house, which we'll explain to you later on in this presentation. So as you can see here, the concept would potentially impact 15 residential structures, so the right-of-way category was considered a high impact. This is a preliminary conservative number, which we feel could come down during development. All the other evaluation categories were considered positive, so this concept was recommended to move forward for additional study. Again, we have an exhibit in the open house where you can look at all the different concepts and see how they were evaluated. So after all the application of the various screening criteria, it was recommended that the following concept be considered for additional study in stage 1, and that is 1 additional lane in each direction on the main line I-10, as well as potential interchange modifications at the following locations: LA 415, LA 1, Washington Street, Dalrymple, Perkins, Acadian, College, and the 10-12 split. This slide shows the sample of an existing area of I-10 with 3 travel lanes in each direction, and this is actually representative of an area where the right-of-way is most narrow. This was something that was shown at the first round of public meetings, and this is that same area that was just seen with an additional lane in each direction. There are 4 continuous through lanes and wider shoulders. This is an example of an area that would potentially be eligible for sound walls. In the majority of the corridor, adding 1 lane in each direction can be constructed within the existing right-of-way. So now I'd like to bring up Ms. Allison Michelle with Urban Systems to speak about the traffic analysis of this project.
Good evening. I'd like to just reiterate our appreciation for all of your valuable time tonight. My name's Allison Michelle. I'm with Urban Systems, and we conducted the traffic analysis. Traffic simulation models were developed for the additional lane concept, and these included a new Washington Street ramp on the left side of I-10 and directional ramps from the I-10, I-12 corridors to the College exit, which would eliminate the triple lane change. These models will be shown in the adjacent room during the open house part of the meeting. The traffic models were used to estimate the benefits of the potential improvements. Sorry. Modeling using existing traffic volumes indicates that average travel times in the AM peak period could be reduced, as shown with the additional lane concept. The red bars indicate the existing travel times, and the green bars, the green? Yep, it says blue, are with the add lane concept. Travel times do and will continue to vary depending on which route and what time of day you leave. This presents a comparison of the average in the AM peak. This slide presents the same comparison for the PM peak. Again, the red is the existing and the green is with the add lane concept. Of course, traffic volumes are not expected to stay the same. As presented in the last public meeting, the traffic demand is expected to increase, and without improvements, the duration of congestion could double by the design year of 2032. This means you would have to leave much earlier or much later to avoid the peak traffic conditions. Travel times in the model will compare in the various areas, and the results for critical routes in the AM peak are presented here. The yellow bar is the existing travel times with today's volumes. The red is with the design year without any improvement. And the green is with the improvements modeled in the design year of 2032. And again, that was an additional lane, a left exit from I-10 to Washington Street, and directional ramps to College from I-10 and I-12. What the data indicates is that these improvements are expected to decrease travel times on I-10 mainline from what is experienced today, and that additional measures are needed to improve access from LA1. This slide presents the average travel time comparison for the PM peak period. The results mimic those of the AM. The traffic analysis supports the conclusion that regional approach is required to reduce congestion from what is experienced today, and that the additional lane concept should be part of that plan. While travel times provide a good indication of the expected improvements, they don't always tell the entire story. Other measures of effectiveness are also used in conjunction with the travel time data to evaluate the impacts of improvements. For example, while the LA1 ramp shows a slightly worse travel time with the additional lane concept compared to today's condition, the throughput or number of vehicles getting onto I-10 is expected to improve from 30 to 45%. Therefore, it's expected that the future condition will only be slightly worse than current conditions, but obviously far better than doing nothing. And now, Adam's coming back.
Will there be a question period here? We'll be taking questions in the open house. So this is what I'm going to explain here. As we discussed earlier, one additional lane is being proposed as the base concept, right? As well as interchange modifications in various locations. At our Ask the Expert tables, you'll be able to take a look at the various concepts proposed at those interchanges. And those interchanges are grouped as follows. This is LA 415 and LA1, Washington and Dalrymple, Perkins, Acadian and College, College and the 10-12 split. We ask that you visit stations, ask questions, give opinions on sheets that contain maps and an explanation area. And we ask that you leave your opinion card for that interchange at that table. You can visit 4 interchange stations or as many as you like throughout the night. Before going in there, we'd like to give you a little outline of items to consider while you visit each interchange area. For the LA 415, LA1 area in West Baton Rouge, which will be identified with a sign that looks exactly like this, you'll find some problems there that include severe backups onto LA1 northbound for morning and evening. Trucks have problems coming up to speed due to the slope of the ramp up to the bridge. Traffic merges to the center lane due to Washington Street lane drop. So our main goal for improvement is to reduce congestion on LA1 northbound. And there are 3 proposed concepts in this area that we'd like to get your opinion on. For the Washington Street Dalrymple Drive area, the problems that we see are merging traffic from I-110 trying to exit at Washington Street. Northbound Washington on-ramp distance to I-10 110 split causes double lane change to cross the bridge westbound. And there's no eastbound on-ramp at Dalrymple, confusing visitors and causing traffic to flow through adjacent neighborhoods to get to I-10. Our improvement goals here are to improve safety by providing an alternative for southbound traffic on I-110 to access Washington Street area, improve safety by modifying the westbound Washington Street area entrance and addressing the distance for the double lane change to get to I-10 westbound across the bridge, and to provide a full access interchange for both Washington and Dalrymple. There are 4 proposed concepts in this area that we'd like to get your opinion on. For the Perkins, Acadian, and College Drive area, the problems seen here are are extremely short acceleration lanes provided at Acadian and Perkins westbound on-ramps. Weaving between Acadian and College causes congestion on I-10, particularly in the eastbound direction. So the improvement goals here are to improve safety by providing adequate acceleration lanes and remove or improve the weave between Acadian and College. And there are two proposed concepts in this area that we'd like to get your opinion on. And finally, the College Drive area, with the 10-12 split. The main problem is that westbound traffic from I-10 has to make a triple lane change across I-12 traffic to exit at College Drive. We're looking to improve safety by removing that triple lane change from westbound I-10, and we have one concept that addresses that. So after this round of public meetings, the next step is to finalize the Stage 0 document and include all alternatives that were considered. State those that were eliminated from further consideration and why. Document all public outreach efforts and responses gathered, which you can be a part of here tonight. And then we'll move into Stage 1, the environmental evaluation, where the product from Stage 0 will be adopted and the remaining alternatives further developed and impacts further analyzed. So a little breakdown of the Stage 1 process. It's progressed in several phases. First, we have the purpose and need. We'll refine that purpose and need that you saw earlier tonight. We'll discuss any kind of preliminary environmental issues. Phase 2 is the alternative study. We'll refine those alternatives and identify preferred. And Phase 3 will be documentation. We'll prepare a draft environmental document, address any comments, prepare a final environmental document, and issue a decision. And then finally, there's environmental closure. We're not proposing these huge concepts that are taking everybody's home. We want to make sure that everybody's comfortable with what we're doing. We can explain everything, answer any questions that we have, and people leave here at the end of the night feeling comfortable with what we're doing.
We're not going to unduly impact the community. We think we relieved a lot of those concerns at the first round of public meetings with our base concept of only one additional lane in each direction. At the first round of public meetings, there were ideas thrown out there about double-decking the interstate and adding more than one lane in each direction. And we've analyzed that and rejected those concepts primarily because of their environmental impacts, their community impacts, but also cost and the ability to phase the construction of those projects makes them impractical. So right now, we're just going to proceed forward with the one additional lane in each direction, but we do need to find out what people's reaction are to the concepts we have for the interchanges, and so that we can make a determination about whether to proceed with those or not into finishing up our study here and then going into the environmental process.
Improvements to I-10 are necessary for this area. I mean, anybody who lives in Baton Rouge, we sit on it every day. So. Improvements to the corridor are part of a suite of projects that needs to happen in Baton Rouge, and everybody coming out here tonight, everybody giving their input is important so that we know the direction that the general public want to take on this project.
We have a great project. We need your support, and that this is not the only solution, that it's a regional concept, that this is a project and a suite of projects to help reduce the congestion. The best thing is to come to these meetings, to talk to their friends and their family, to visit www.ibr.com, and to just be in support of these improvements and help, like I said, get the word out.